More comfort equals more control, less fatigue, and in general, more fun. But there's lots of things that can affect how comfortable your e-mountain bike is. So let's take a look at a few of them. Are you even on the right size e-mountain bike? This is really crucial as to how comfortable you'll be on those rides. If you're on a bike that's too big for you, you're going to be outstretched. If you're on a bike that's too small, you're going to be all crumpled up and not very comfortable. Now, when it comes to sizing, a lot of different manufacturers measure their bike differently. So get onto their website and check out their geometry, or even better, get along to a demo day before you buy that brand new bike. The way you set up your suspension on your e-bike is going to have a big effect as to how the bike rides up and downhill. The fatigue you're going to be getting, the control of the bike, the balance, and more importantly, the comfort of your ride. Now, if you've got your suspension set too hard, every single little bump and rock and root is going to be amplified by the bike hitting it. It's not going to be absorbed by the suspension, and it isn't going to be working very efficiently. Now, on the other hand, if you've got the suspension too soft, the bike is going to be sitting too low in its travel, and again, the geometry is going to be affected and your bottom bracket is going to be really low, enhancing pedal strikes along the way. So suspension setting is super important. Changing up your bar setup on your e-mountain bike is going to make a massive difference as to how comfortable it's going to feel out and about on the trails. A big wide bar is really going to open up a cramped feeling bike, but there's a lot more factors to consider when it comes to handlebars, things such as width, rise, the material it's made out of, lots of things to consider. The material it's made out of will make a big difference. An alloy bar will in general provide a more forgiving ride than a carbon one. Then there's the width. Bar width is a personal thing. Some people like big 780 or 800mm wide handlebars as they have high leverage for hitting tech terrain at speed. But for some riders, it feels way too wide and uncomfortable, so you can chop down those bars if you feel like that. Then there's the height of the bar. The higher bar may be a little bit more comfortable as it puts you into a more higher, relaxed riding position and puts your weight more rearward and off of your hands. A lower bar will move weight forward and lower weight over the front wheel. Then there's the bar roll itself. Now, if you undo these 4 bolts on the front of the stem, you're going to be able to rotate the bars in the clamp. Now, if you roll the bars forward, it's going to put your weight a little bit more forward. It's also going to give you a little bit more reach as well. And if you roll it back, it's going to shorten that cockpit up, so shortening the reach. And it's also going to move your weight a little bit more rearward. Just try and find a happy medium between the two and find out what suits you. The stem on your e-mountain bike can make a massive difference as to how comfortable it rides. Now, swapping the stem out is a great quick fix to fixing a bike that doesn't quite fit you properly. You can increase or decrease its top tube length by simply swapping that stem out. Now, try to work around parameters about 35mm to a maximum of about 65-70mm. If you go above or below that, it's going to have a massive effect as to how it rides. Just to remember to match it up with the correct amount of stem spacers and the correct handlebar too. The grips on your e-mountain bike are going to be one of your main contact points, so getting them right is going to make a big difference as to how comfortable that ride is going to feel. Now, grips come in lots of different options. Now, one of the biggest things to consider is how much material you want on that grip. You can get thin grips, which are really great at feeling connected to the bike, but they don't offer a lot of shock absorption. Then you get the fatter grips, which are going to give you a bit more cushioning, but feeling a little less connected to the bike. Then there's material it's made out of. You can get different compound grips, which are going to offer more grip. They're going to wear quicker, but give you a lot more grip. And you can get a harder compound, which will last a lot longer. Lots of different options, but be sure to choose the correct one for where you live and the type of riding that you're going to be doing. The saddle is an area that you will be spending a lot of time in your e-bike, so you definitely need to make sure you're getting comfortable on that. Now, bigger is definitely not better when it comes to saddles. In fact, if you are getting uncomfortable, then I suggest that you go down to your local bike shop and get your sit bones measured. That way, you're going to be able to select the correct saddle for you. When it comes to saddles, there are e-mountain bike specific models on the market. These have a raised rear on there, they have multiple layers on there, and they have a degree of float in the rails, making them super comfy. You can also get men's and ladies saddles too, so make sure you're buying that right saddle that suits you. Now, it's super simple to adjust your saddle to get it in that ideal position. Usually got a couple of bolts underneath the saddle that you can undo, and it's going to allow you to slide the saddle forwards or backwards, but there will usually be a maximum amount that you can slide it on those rails, so just make sure you're not exceeding that. You can also tilt the saddle up or down as well, so just try and get it in that perfect position and mess around with it a little bit. It's going to make a huge difference as to how comfortable you can get. Tyres are your first point of contact when it comes to riding your e-mountain bike, and massive gains in comfort can be made here with the right choices. First up is going to be the volume of your tyre. Now, 2.8 and 3-inch tyres aren't unheard of in the e-bike world, and these are great at offering really good cushioning on rooty and rocky terrain. Then there's the type of tyre you're going to be using. An aggressive tyre with a soft compound, that can be great at absorbing some of that shock from the trail too. And then lastly, tyre pressure can make a massive difference. If you've got that tyre too hard, it's simply going to be deflecting off every trail obstacle in its way. Then if you've got the tyre too soft, it's going to be squirming around underneath you, not inspiring confidence and not be very comfortable at all, especially if you're hitting the rim on every rock and route along the trail. Your pedals on your bike are an important contact point too. Now, there's lots of different options when it comes to pedals, especially flat pedals. You can get options with longer axles, which are going to move your feet further away from the cranks. If you find yourself rubbing your crank arms, that could be a good option for you too. Then there's different size cages. You can get big cages, low profile, big platforms. The list is literally endless. So having a look and see what could work for you could be an option. But when it comes to pedals, you want to choose something with ideally an aluminium body with decent bearings and a strong axle and big aggressive pins, particularly if you're riding that mud and slop. Now, something that's really important to team up with your pedal choice is going to be the shoes that you're wearing on your feet. Now, you really want to get a cycling specific shoe from the likes of 510, Specialized or Ride Concepts. These shoes have super sticky rubber that is going to stick to those pins like mad to ensure you're not going to be sliding around. So a few little tweaks on your setup can make a massive difference as to how comfortable your e-bike is going to be out on the trails and how it's going to perform too. But if you left anything out, or if you've got any tips on how to make your bike a little bit more comfortable, we'd love to hear it. So get involved in the comments box down below. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe to us here on EMBN and give us a find and a follow on your favorite social media too. Thanks for watching and keep it comfortable.